So welcome back. I'm thrilled to have my good friend Brian Proctor on with us today. Brian is the president and CEO of Mente Group down in Frisco, Texas, and he's the CEO of Four Corners Aviation also, which we'll talk about. And Brian's a long-term industry veteran. He runs a great business down there. He's a very well-known expert, and just happy to have you on. Thanks for coming, Brian.
Well, Craig, thanks for having me. It's always good to spend a little time with you.
What's happening down in Frisco? Let's talk a little bit about Mente Group. You guys are, you're growing. You're growing quickly.
Yeah, Mente's doing great. We had a really good year in 2022. Our transaction volume was up about 27%. So, net, it was positive. Our business is growing and expanding. We've got people now all across the country, and our goal is to try to deliver great products and services to our clients every time we can.
So but you're acting more. You're not necessarily just a transaction firm. You're an advisory firm. I mean, you've got people on your staff. You're buying, selling, acquiring aircraft. You're helping with maintenance, pre-buys, fleet planning, things like that. Is that what the customers is the customer expecting more?
Yeah, it's interesting. One of our taglines is "Get More," and really, that's what we try to do. As the business has grown and expanded, we started with really strategic consulting and transactions, and we've added a couple of different areas. So now we're doing the strategic consulting, which is fleet planning and feasibility studies. We do transactions of new aircraft and pre-owned aircraft. We also now have an operational consulting practice where we do best practice audits, ISBEO certification, flight department startup. We do a lot of completion monitoring work. That business has really expanded quite a bit in the last 12 months. And then about 5 years ago, we started an appraisal business. And last year we did a little over 600 appraisals, close to $10 billion in total appraised value. So when you look across the business, we're touching a lot of different parts of the industry. And what we found is that our clients are sort of vectored in to where we product offering, meaning that when we first started the business, people hired us primarily for our transactional expertise. And what we're seeing now is that our clients want a good blend of all the different services we provide. And so it's not uncommon on any given project that we do that we have people from every one of our verticals working with our clients to help them make good decisions.
Who's describe your typical client? Is it somebody who is, is it, Fortune 500? Is it somebody who owns one aircraft? Is it somebody looking new, somebody new to the industry who's thinking about buying a jet?
Yeah, it's really all of the above. I mean, our clients can range from, companies that are, the largest companies in the world, Fortune 10, Fortune 20 companies. I think we work right now with about 35% of the Fortune 500, the Fortune 100. We also work with ultra high net worth individuals. And we've got one client that's an insurance sales guy here in town in Dallas, and he has a small fractional share. So it really ranges from first-time entrants into the market into the most sophisticated companies on the planet.
How did Mente get started? I mean, it's your background. You've been in the industry a while. What made you decide to, mold Mente?
Yeah, I was with another firm in 2009, and with the pressures that were happening due to the recession that we were in, I decided to leave that company and start Mente. And really, when you think about July 1st of 2009, probably not the best time on the planet to start an aviation advisory firm. But interestingly, that year, we did 12 transactions within 6 months, and it got off to a very, very fast pace. And since then, we've been able to grow significantly. I think we're now over $5.5 billion in total transaction volume.
Wow, $5.5 billion.
$5.5 billion.
Amazing. It's interesting. You say about 2009 is probably not the best time to start. In a lot of ways, it may be the best time to start. There was a lot of ambiguity in the industry. A lot of people wanted some hand holding. You had people out there looking for deals. A lot of people looking to unwind deals. Talk about starting in a down market, how that felt to you.
Well, it's interesting because we actually bartered for office space, and I put all of the data subscriptions that we needed, and I put our server, all that stuff on my credit card, and literally started the business with $100. And we had to be scrappy from the start, and so we kind of developed an environment around here where we're fiercely loyal to our clients, but we're exceptionally scrappy in the marketplace. And then separately, because we were undercapitalized from the get-go, we had to create a lot of discipline, and that discipline has actually served us well. It's funny because I look back a few months ago. In our first 12 months of operations, we spent $678 total on real estate, meaning our offices, and really that was cabling to move to tie the offices together. I think our plant budget last year was more than $678. So it's changed quite a bit over the past 12 or 13 years.
I would say so. It's funny, and I talked about this. I was out meeting with an equity guy last week, and we were talking about, people in industry who understand that entrepreneurship is bootstrapping. It makes me incredibly angry to understand that Google laid off 27 full-time massage therapists as part of their big layoff. And you think about how fat the company must have gotten. If they had 27 full-time massage therapists, how much other fat needed to be cut out, which could have actually saved some jobs.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, when we look at it, we look at it not only on the number of employees that we have, but also the number of family members. And when you begin to put the personnel decisions in light of that statistic, then it really sort of changes the way that you think about how you grow your business. And so I didn't hear the stat on 27 massage therapists. That's it's frankly sad to hear that that's kind of what was going on inside the organization.
But it makes you feel good about starting with $100 in a borrowed office, and
it's a completely different environment for sure.
So $5.5 billion of transaction services. What are people coming to you for first? Or obviously you've built your cadre of clients. What are people looking for now?
Yeah, it's interesting. Over time, historically, we're almost exactly even 50-50 on buy-side engagements and sell-side engagements. And last year we were right in those numbers. And what's interesting on the buy side, because we do a lot of work there, probably more than really sort of anybody else except for one or two firms maybe, is that we tend to migrate to where value is in the marketplace. And so in 2020 and 21, we were buying a lot of pre-owned airplanes. Last year, our new acquisitions actually increased to almost 50% of our total acquisition volume. And I think, talking to a couple of the OEMs, we were the largest buyers of those products in the marketplace last year, other than some of the big, fractional firms.
So I take it you're getting some respect inside the OEMs now.
Well, hopefully, we try to have a pretty common sense approach to the acquisition process, and one of our focuses around here is to try to make it as simple as possible, and not waste a lot of time doing things that really don't create a lot of value for the clients. And so we're able to work with the OEMs and get to pricing and solutions and deal structuring very, very quickly. And it's usually 3 or 4 phone calls, and we get there pretty fast. And so I think that the OEMs appreciate it. I know that the clients do, and we do as well. So when you're doing a deal like that, just to digress, are you using the same aviation attorneys also who are able to structure contracts, take the ambiguity out of that, and move it along? Yeah, we are not in the practice of law. So most of the time our clients have aviation counsel when they come to us. If they don't, we highly recommend it. And we have a list of 15 or so, maybe 20 aviation law firms around the U.S. that we recommend and we work with frequently. And what we found is that even though it does add an instrument of cost to the client, it really saves a lot of time and creates a much better product in the end for them. And so, we haven't done this yet, but we often laugh and talk about it. If our client doesn't have aviation counsel, we should charge more because it just creates a lot more work. And if the client's using in-house counsel, especially in the case of corporations, a lot of times these guys have specializations not in aviation, and so you almost have to untrain some habits to retrain them into the aviation space.
Yeah, it used to drive me nuts because the same deal, 10 different attorneys, one person would make a couple changes, and the other person would be charging $50,000 or $60,000 to their client with no real value. It's tough it's a difficult transaction. I don't think people really understand how complex it is to go and buy and sell an airplane.
Yeah, no, it's very complex, and I think the industry is sort of evolved into that. And I have found that attorneys, good attorneys, are worth their weight in gold when it comes to an aviation transaction.
Yeah. So let's change gears a little bit. How are you guys finding the industry changing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think that I have never. I've been in the industry for 23 years, and in that time, I've never seen a more dynamic industry than what we have right now. And when you think about it, I think that there are kind of at least 5 or 6 things going on simultaneously. And, I think that that's really beginning to make an impact into what we're all seeing. If you kind of think about it, sort of step back at the beginning of COVID, or maybe 3 or 4 months into COVID, July of 2020, we began to see a significant number of new entrants into the marketplace, and requesting all different services from fractional cards all the way through first-time buyers. That year, I think we had 3 customers who were first-time buyers that bought G650 or larger.
First airplane's a G650.
And
if you're going to jump in the pond, I guess that's a good place to go, right?
Jump in, exactly. And so, with all the market entrants, I think that what we've seen, especially in the charter and card and fractional space, and it permeates the entire industry, is that with the number of entrants that have come in, the market is really stretched quite a bit in order to absorb the demand that's been in the system. And really what we're seeing is that, if you think about all the different providers that are out there and the different levels that we can use business aviation today, there have just been, thousands of new entrants into the marketplace. And really, if you think about the industry, to me, it feels a little bit like a rubber band that's been stretched pretty far out. Now, it's relaxed a little bit in the last couple of months, but it's still stretched pretty taut. And with that, we've seen, unfortunately, in certain areas, an erosion really of the service model. And, things that we would never have expected 10 years ago are starting to happen more routinely now. And unfortunately, I think that there's been an impact across the board in terms of what we're being able to do as an industry. I think that the industry is recovering a little bit, but when you take that, the number of entrants, and then you look at what's going on with the supply chain and how the suppliers and the sub-suppliers to the OEMs and the MROs have been stretched. We're really looking at an environment now. Not only do we have more entrants, but the cost of operations are dramatically increasing. And we're in a fairly massive inflationary environment. And we're seeing that in several different areas. We're seeing it in personnel. I mean, obviously, you see this here with pilots and mechanics and flight attendants. And it's not uncommon to do a salary survey or a retention study for a client right now on the Mente side and recommend a 20 or 30% salary increase across the board, given, it depends on the flight department, where they're based and what type of equipment they fly and what they're being paid now. But, we've seen that with a couple of clients in the last 2 years. And so it's definitely an environment right now where inflation is present, and I think we're all seeing.
Yeah, no, look, the inflationary environment starts with pilots. That's the one that everybody sees right off the bat. There's a couple things I see there. So if you think Mesa Airlines has 40 airplanes that are parked because they don't have pilots for them. Republic Airlines has about another 20 or 30 that are parked. These are regional jets that don't have pilots, so they're just parked somewhere. That tells you the magnitude of of that industry, of that factor. Then I think about CPI adjustments. You buy an aircraft now with look at the Falcon 10, for instance, the 10X coming out. You put a contract on it with a CPI adjuster. Well, when the CPIs run at 6 or 7%, that could add another 10, 11, $12 million to the airplane by the time that thing is delivered. How much does that impact delivery? So it's an interesting time at the moment.
Yeah, no. And if you think about the personnel issue and the shortage, the MROs are suffering because talent is being pulled away from the MRO facilities. Parts are becoming more expensive. If you shift gears a little bit, insurance is in some cases doubled. I was just talking to an operator on Friday, and they've got it's a complex operation, but they're paying close to $1 million a year in insurance for their operation, which is staggering. And then like you think about hangar costs. And I was talking to someone recently in White Plains, and the last couple of years, hangar prices up there have almost doubled.
Wow.
When you think about all of these different price pressures going into the marketplace, personnel, insurance, hangar, and just everything, it's definitely becoming a lot more. The proposition is becoming much more expensive, and I think that we're beginning to see that kind of across the board.
Do you think that at what point do people start to say no? Right now we haven't seen that level, but I'm sure it gets there at some point. Even pick a big cabin operator who, a lot of times people say, well, if you can afford $60 million for the jet, what do you care about the other stuff? But eventually they start to say, get tired of paying the bills.
No, you're exactly right, and I think that we're on the edge of beginning to start to see that. And especially if we go into an economic environment where we may have some disruption. We talked a little bit earlier about some of the layoffs that are going on in the IT space. If that begins to spill over into other areas of the economy, rightfully so, aviation is going to be looked at much more with a lot more focus with executives and owners. And frankly, a lot of the people who rushed into the market back in 2020 and 2021, they're looking at it and they're trying to decide if it's really worth it. One of those 650 buyers that I was mentioning earlier, they're considering actually selling the airplane and getting out. Not because their situation's changed, but their demand isn't where they thought it was going to be, and the cost per hour when you factor in the capital and the fixed component is close to almost, in their case, $30,000 an hour. And that's a lot of money to have your own private airplane.
Yeah. So do they get out of the 650 and they go to something smaller, or do they just get out altogether?
Yeah. In this case, we're talking to them about, and we're running the models right now about getting out and moving into a charter model where they're just chartering for a couple of years until things sort of stabilize.
That's it. Yeah. And once again, the charter operators, that's another story, because they've been seeing a lot of demand pressure as well. Can they keep up? And which presents safety issues and FAA issues and things of the sort. So it seems to me the whole business aviation industry right now is still feeling a little stretched.
Take the rubber band and pull it to about 12 inches apart and then release it just a little bit. That's where we are right now.
Yeah, that's kind of what. That's kind of where I'm seeing it too. You think the OEMs are feeling pretty healthy? You're pretty confident in their backlogs?
I think so. I mean, right now, other than just a handful of models, the OEMs are out to first quarter 2025. And so with an 18-month or 24-month backlog, yeah, that gives them a lot of flexibility. I don't feel like that the OEMs feel like that they can right now increase production significantly because of the supply chain issues that we talked about earlier. I know that there are significant problems with all of the OEMs just trying to meet the current production levels. And so, what we will see though is, again, back to this economic question, and if we do see a ripple effect going through the economy, aircraft salesmen at these OEMs will spend a lot of time keeping the order book together versus focusing on adding to the order book.
I think they're going to maintain that discipline. A lot of whitetails, 2008, memories are still long, 2008, 9 and 10 with whitetails sitting on the ramp. I suspect that they'd rather just maintain the discipline versus ever seeing that debacle again.
But to the OEM's credit, I think that they showed a lot of discipline, to your word, over the last 2 years and really sort of maintaining pricing parity. We've seen a reasonable uptick in pricing, but we haven't seen it as dramatically as we've seen it in the Korean market. I was looking Friday for a client of ours at the Challenger 300 market, and they were hoping to buy something around the 2010, 11, 12 Challenger 300, and they were looking pre-COVID, and the principal was really upset because he didn't buy something, and there was an airplane that we were looking at specifically, and the purchase price has gone up almost 75% since the beginning of COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's gone from in the 8s to the 15, 14 something.
Yeah, no, I believe it. Yeah, a good Challenger. A couple of years ago, good Challenger 300 was $8 to $12 million,
and today it's closer to 15. And so the other thing that I think that we're gonna continue to see in the industry is that when I first got in the industry 20 years ago, we would traditionally say that airplanes lost 3 to 4% of their value per year. And, I think from 2010 through 2019, you could arguably say that aircraft lost somewhere between 6.5% and 8% of their value per year.
Yep.
So we had shifted to an environment that was a much more aggressive depreciation cycle. With the recent increases, what we're seeing is that aircraft price stability is much less. The aircraft are much less stable than we've ever thought, and so that stability in pricing, I think, is going to begin to impact not only owners and how they think about the assets and trading in and out, but also lenders and insurance companies and everything that touches the asset value of the airplane. I think we'll begin to rethink how they go about valuing airplanes.
Yeah.
Our appraisal business has been all over that. Our guys that they've seen it, and we spend in an inordinate amount of time. We've got an entire team of people, and all they're focusing on aircraft value.
And this is real, and is it going to hold up? And it's going back to the days when people were speculating on delivery positions, right?
Not there yet.
No, I don't think so. Hey, so let's shift gears one more time. Four Corners Aviation is a product that you announced about 18 months ago. And it's interesting. Talk about Four Corners a little bit.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for bringing that up. Four Corners is a traditional management company. We do what most management companies do today. We've got a third-party charter. We've got a charter card product. We do Part 91 and 135 management. Today we manage about 14, 15 airplanes, and that's almost doubled since we started in the business. We started in the business through acquiring a company up in the Northeast, and we've doubled our fleet in the last 18 months, which that's exciting. But I think the focus of what we're looking at now is a new product that we rolled out about a year ago called Freedom. And the idea behind Freedom is really to provide a fully outsourced aviation experience to clients. And so if you think about some of the things that we talked about earlier, with the erosion of the service models that we're seeing and supply chain issues and pricing stability, what we're trying to do is solve for all of the above. And frankly, the idea resulted from a consulting project that I did at Mente several years ago. And at the end of the consulting project, the client looked at the deck that we had put together, and they had a G5 and were thinking about upgrading. And to quote the CEO of the company, he put his hands on the deck and looked out the window and paused for a second and said, "Brian, I completely agree with everything that you've got in here, and absolutely think that the right thing for our company right now is to upgrade from a G5 to a 550. So, but I've got a problem." And then he paused again and said, "The last thing on the planet I want to buy right now is an aircraft." And that sentence resonated with me, and I couldn't shake it on the flight home from New York to Dallas that night. And really what he was saying is, as an industry, you're selling a product that I don't want to buy. And we started then working on a business plan around trying to create a product that where people could have access to private aviation without necessarily buying an airplane. And so we're very, very close to having all of the details worked out in the program, and we've got a bunch of proposals out right now. And my guess is by the end of February, we'll have a couple of clients signed up and starting to move into the program. So it's really an exciting time for us.
So basically what you're saying is aircraft as a service type of, basically becomes an aircraft as a service type of model.
Actually, branded corporate jets as a service. That's the idea. And, if you think about it, 15 years ago, when you needed to update your Outlook and Word, you'd buy a disk from Microsoft, throw it in your laptop, and you'd install the software onto your computer. And today you've got a $30 a month subscription. That's really where we want to go. And, the idea behind the program is to really sort of provide to owners exactly what they want. And as an industry right now, if you boil all the stuff that we all do down to two things, we build and sell airplanes, and then we operate them. And everything that everybody does in the industry, everybody, is tied to building and selling airplanes or operating. And as an industry, we build and sell airplanes that our clients really want what the plane delivers to them. And that's safe, reliable, simplified, and customized transportation. And that's what we're building for our clients. That's what Freedom is all about. And the name is, I wish I thought of the name, one of our market guys did, but the name really does do what it says. It provides clients from the freedom for having to deal with all of the different things that are associated with owning an aircraft. And they can focus on what they need to do, which is run their business or enjoy their family and their personal life. And then we can handle the airplane stuff.
They let you guys run the airplane. What's the biggest? So what do you think the biggest threat to the industry is right now? Is it inflation? Is it the green initiatives? Economy?
I think it's a little bit of, it's interesting. You mentioned the green initiatives. I think that sustainability is absolutely imperative for our industry. And it does pose a threat, but I think as an industry, we need to embrace it. And I know that the OEMs and some of the other players in the industry are working really hard to come up with sustainable fuels and carbon offsets. And we've even rolled out our own carbon offset program. But as an industry, we need to really focus on sustainability. I don't perceive that as a threat as much as it is something that we need to be aware of, and that needs to drive our evolution. But right now, I believe that the service models are being stretched so thin, and that's driven by a lot of different things. It's pricing, it's just the number of people in the industry, but that pull on the supply chain and the pull on the service models is really, I think, in the short term, the biggest threat. We have, as an industry, always provided a very safe product.
Right.
Historical numbers. Our safety numbers are equivalent to the mainline airlines. And so take a Part 91 professionally flown airplane or 91K, the safety stats are almost identical to the airline. And, we can't allow what's going on in the industry now to impact that. Because if we get a reputation that we're unsafe, then I think that will cause people to have second thoughts about entering into the product offering. It's funny too. When we were doing the analysis on the business and trying to come up with a business model and a business plan that would work, that we could scale, we were talking about the complexity of owning an airplane, and really one of the tenets of our business is trying to provide a simple product offering. And we were again talking about the complexity, and I paused our group session for about 15 minutes. I said, guys, let's stop. Let's spend 15 minutes and let's brainstorm how many contracts you'd have to enter into in order to buy an aircraft, operate it for 5 years, and then sell it at the end of 5 years. And so I hit go. Had a yellow pad out. I started writing as the guys were naming the different contracts. And in 15 minutes, we came up with 56 different contracts.
Yeah, I mean, it's contract, it's hangar, it's fuel, it's Air Inc. and Jeppesen, and it's crazy. I mean, it's.
And so what we try to do is simplify all that down to one contract.
Gotcha. That's interesting. You bullish on the industry?
I'm very bullish on the industry. I think that if you think about who our clients are, look, our company now has grown. I think we're close to 80 employees, $40 or $50 million a year in revenue. So small business relative to some of our clients, but still sizable. And I know how hard it is to run a business of this size and scale. If I were trying to run a $2 or $10 billion or $40 billion in business, I don't know how you would do it on the airlines. And the one commodity that none of us can buy more of time, and that's the one commodity that our industry sells. And so we've got to figure out as an industry how to deliver that product set in a way that people really want to buy it. And we feel like right now with Four Corners, we're sort of positioning ourselves right in the middle of that decisioning, and that's what we're trying to do as part of growing the business.
Yeah, I gotcha. No, I love it. Congratulations on all your success. It's been fun to watch. You built a good team.
I have hair that look like yours, and now I don't.
Yeah. My wife comments about mine getting a little bit grayer every year too, so it's all good. Hey, Brian, thanks for coming on. Appreciate that. Congratulations on all the success. Glad you took some time to come on and talk about this. Look forward to doing another one and watching you guys grow some more.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and enjoy our relationship and enjoy working with you with your services. You guys are the best.
Hey, how do people find you and Mente Group?
Yeah, so we've got two websites. Mente Group is simple. It's mentegroup.com, and then Four Corners Aviation is fourcornersaviation.com. Go right on the website. You'll see my ugly picture, and you can click on it. Right there.
Very cool. Thank you, Brian. Talk soon. I hope you enjoyed the latest edition of the Aerospace Executive Podcast. You can reach out to me directly, Craig at northstaresg.com, or check us out at www.northstaresg.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or on YouTube. Just do a search for Aerospace Executive Podcast. Thanks again. I'm Craig Piven.